It started with a name that wasn't real, a voice that reached out through cryptic letters, never through faces, a mystery that turned an entire generation into amateur detectives. In the late 1960s, California became the stage for one of the most perplexing criminal puzzles in American history, a case that combined crime, code, and psychology in a way no one had ever seen before. The person who called himself Zodiac didn't just commit acts of violence. He built an identity, a myth, around secrecy, symbols, and the fear of the unknown. More than 50 years later, the case remains officially unsolved. Who was the Zodiac? And how did one person manage to disappear behind a wall of symbols that, even today, we can't fully understand? It was the end of the 1960s, a time of transformation, freedom, and cultural revolution. But under that bright surface, something darker began to emerge. A series of mysterious, violent incidents occurred around Northern California. They seemed unrelated at first, tragic, but isolated. Yet soon, police realized they might be connected by something far more chilling than coincidence. Each event was followed by an anonymous letter sent to newspapers. Each one carried the same strange symbol, a circle with a cross drawn through it. And each one came from someone who signed off with the chilling words, "This is the Zodiac speaking." In the summer of 1969, 3 major Bay Area newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, received nearly identical, handwritten letters. They were penned in an unusual blocky style, and each contained a cipher, a grid of mysterious symbols and shapes. The writer demanded that the letters be published on the front page, promising that the coded messages would reveal clues to his identity. When the ciphers were printed, amateur codebreakers across the country feverishly began trying to solve them. Within days, a California schoolteacher and his wife managed to decode the message. It didn't reveal the killer's name, but it did expose a chilling fascination with control, power, and secrecy. And just like that, the legend of the Zodiac began. The 1960s were the golden age of newspapers and television. For the first time in history, a criminal could use the media to build his own mythology, right in front of the public's eyes. Every new letter from the Zodiac brought screaming headlines. Every new code invited the public into the mystery. People began flooding police departments with tips, theories, and even their own homemade cipher solutions. The case quickly became a part of pop culture. Late-night shows discussed it, films referenced it, and journalists chased the next cryptic letter like treasure hunters on a morbid quest. The Zodiac didn't just challenge law enforcement, he captured the entire world's imagination. What made the Zodiac so different from other criminals wasn't just what he did, it was how he thought. He communicated almost exclusively in symbols. He wrote about astrological signs, ancient rituals, and strange philosophical ideas about the afterlife. Every message was designed like a puzzle, daring the police and the public to decode it. Some letters even included bizarre diagrams of imaginary devices or symbolic references to fate and destiny. For investigators, this was no longer just a criminal case. It was a psychological labyrinth, designed by a mind that was as brilliant as it was twisted. Law enforcement agencies across California were forced to join forces. Local police, state investigators, and eventually, even the FBI. Thousands upon thousands of tips poured in. Countless suspects were interviewed, handwriting was meticulously analyzed, and typewriters were compared. But every time the investigation seemed close to a breakthrough, the evidence would just fade into uncertainty. One name, however, kept resurfacing. Arthur Lee Allen, a former schoolteacher with a known interest in ciphers and military-style codes. He matched parts of the physical description, and his behavior raised serious suspicions. However, forensic tests, including fingerprints and, much later, DNA comparisons, never definitively confirmed his guilt. To this day, he remains the prime suspect for many, but he was never officially charged. The case against him remains a heated topic of debate and speculation. What truly shook California to its core wasn't just the crimes themselves. It was the pervasive fear that anyone could be next. The Zodiac's letters mentioned targeting public places, schools, and even school buses. Police drastically increased patrols, and newspapers debated the ethics of publishing the killer's threats versus staying silent and preventing panic. Psychologists began studying the case as a textbook example of media-driven anxiety. For the first time, an unknown, unseen figure had created a nationwide panic without ever revealing his face. The Zodiac became a symbol of invisible danger, a chilling reminder that the mystery of the unknown can be far more terrifying than any tangible reality. Each new communication from the Zodiac revealed an extraordinary mix of high intelligence and staggering arrogance. He clearly enjoyed the spotlight, but also seemed to despise anyone who tried to understand him. His writings were filled with references to movies, literature, and cryptography. He once sent a letter to a famous lawyer, Melvin Belli, asking for help, though it was almost certainly another calculated manipulation. He sent codes that the world's best experts couldn't solve for decades. For the Zodiac, control wasn't just about violence. It was about dominating the public's attention, about becoming a name, a symbol that no one could ever forget. For decades, several of the Zodiac's cryptic messages remained completely unsolved, until the year 2020. That year, an international team of private citizen codebreakers finally cracked one of his most famous puzzles, known as the 340 cipher. The decoded message didn't reveal his name, but it did confirm what investigators had long suspected. The writer saw himself as completely untouchable, a man playing a grand, twisted game that only he could win. Still, even with this breakthrough, two of the Zodiac's shorter ciphers remain unbroken to this day. They might hold a name, a final clue, or perhaps nothing at all. The mystery continues. Over the years, dozens of suspects have emerged. Some matched handwriting samples. Others fit eyewitness descriptions. A few even falsely confessed, hoping for a sliver of fame or attention. Investigators have examined men like Rick Marshall, Lawrence Kane, and Richard Gaikowski, each with their own set of intriguing, yet inconclusive, links to the case. And more recently, a private research team identified a man named Gary Post as a potential suspect, though no official law enforcement agency has confirmed this claim. Each new theory adds another layer to the story, but none have brought the closure that the victims' families and the public have sought for so long. The truth remains locked in the past, or perhaps it's still hidden in plain sight, waiting inside one of those final, unsolved codes. The Zodiac case didn't just end with the crimes. It burrowed deep into our culture, influencing film, art, literature, and even how we perceive crime itself. Movies like Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry and David Fincher's Zodiac drew direct inspiration from the killer's reign of terror. Writers, artists, and a growing community of true crime enthusiasts turned the unsolved mystery into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. But beyond the silver screen and book pages, the Zodiac became a chilling symbol of how information, and just as importantly, misinformation, can manipulate public fear. He demonstrated a terrifying truth. Sometimes, words, codes, and threats can be even more potent weapons than a gun. He wasn't just a criminal, he was a master of psychological warfare. For the detectives on the case, the hunt for the Zodiac wasn't just a job, it became a lifelong obsession. Detective Dave Toschi, one of the lead investigators from the San Francisco Police Department, dedicated years of his career to chasing down every lead, analyzing every letter, and trying to decipher the killer's cryptic mind. The case followed him, a shadow he couldn't shake, long after he retired. Despite thousands of interviews, countless forensic tests, and endless theories, the final definitive answer remained just out of reach. The Zodiac case stands as a stark and frustrating reminder that not every mystery gets a neat conclusion, and that the relentless pursuit of an answer can become its own kind of prison, trapping those who seek it. Today, however, the silence of the past is being challenged by the technology of the future. modern investigative tools offer a new glimmer of hope. DNA analysis, advanced handwriting comparison software, and digital forensics are being applied to the decades-old evidence. Investigators have re-examined the envelopes and stamps the Zodiac used, hoping to extract a usable genetic profile to compare against modern databases. So far, no confirmed match has been found, but the recent breakthroughs in other famous cold cases, solved through genetic genealogy, give many people reason to believe that it's only a matter of time. Alongside official investigations, a global community of amateur sleuths, online cryptographers, and true crime researchers continue their own work, each one hoping to be the person who finally solves the puzzle that has stumped professionals for over half a century. When you look at the psychology behind the case, experts believe the Zodiac's greatest weapon wasn't his violence, it was his ambiguity. By remaining a faceless phantom, he forced the public's imagination to do the work for him, filling in the terrifying blanks with their own worst fears. He transformed himself from a mere person into a powerful, unsettling idea. And that idea, of an invisible, all-knowing figure who controls a city through mystery and fear, continues to fascinate psychologists, sociologists, and storytellers. The case forces us to ask some uncomfortable questions about ourselves. Why are we so drawn to the darkness? Why do we feel this compulsive need to find meaning and patterns in complete chaos? Perhaps the real story of the Zodiac isn't about who he was, but about what he made us become. He turned ordinary people into detectives, codebreakers, and storytellers, all united in the chase for an eternal, unsolvable puzzle. More than 50 years later, the Zodiac's symbol, that simple crosshair circle, still appears everywhere. You see it in books, films, and endless internet forums, but its meaning has shifted. For many, it's no longer just a symbol of fear. It's a symbol of curiosity, a challenge to the human intellect, a mystery that keeps us intrigued and guessing. The Zodiac case is a powerful reminder that some mysteries are timeless. It proves that even in our modern age of instant information and advanced technology, some answers can remain tantalizingly out of reach. And maybe, just maybe, that's what keeps us looking. Not for closure, but for a deeper understanding of the unknown. Ultimately, the truth may be lying dormant somewhere in the dusty archives of old police files. A forgotten name, a partial fingerprint, or a tiny fragment of DNA just waiting for the right technology to match it. Or perhaps the truth was never in the evidence at all. Perhaps the real truth lies in what the mystery revealed about us. Our shared fascination with secrets, our desperate need for answers, and our deep-seated fear of things that simply can't be explained. The Zodiac's true legacy isn't the crimes he committed. It's the question he left behind. A question that still echoes, half a century later. Who was the Zodiac? And maybe the reason we can't ever stop asking is because a small part of us doesn't ever want the mystery to end. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. If you find these kinds of stories as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next investigation. See you in the next video.